Hey guys, welcome back to the Tin Man Boating Club YouTube channel. Today I want to show you how to install ballast bags on the plug-and-play system for most Malibu and Axis boats. Each model and year is going to be a little bit different, but overall they're mostly the same. And I think a lot of people might think this is a simple step, but I'll tell you what, when I'm out there and I'm looking for boats to buy, especially when they're used boats, it definitely helps me in my purchase decision when I can research these types of things ahead of time and know what I'm getting myself into. So I thought it'd be a good video to basically show how this is done. With that being said, there's a couple of different options out there, or a few different options. I went with the Fat Sack plug and play ballast bags, mostly because I wanted the 650s, and typically the other models or brands you can only find up to 580s, which, to be honest, the extra 70 pounds I'm getting from the Fat Sacks probably isn't going to be all that worth it, because it's going to be draining out of the overfill most likely. But I got it for a little bit better deal than the other brands, so I figured, what the heck, it's not going to be that big of a deal if a little bit's draining out to me. But if it is a big deal to you, then you might want to consider the Wake Makers bags, and those are probably the easiest ones to figure out as far as buying them and being comfortable with them. But Ronix makes a setup as well that will hook up to your plug and play. Wake Makers says that they laser measure the compartment, so theirs is a perfect fit. I've had pretty good luck with Fat Sack, and they've been doing it for a long time. But I think they're both good brands. Ronix is a really good brand, but they're more well known for their 8.3 series. They're more well known for their portable pump and bag setups. Which I use one for the bow. I think it's great. It's really fast. You can drop the pump in the bag, and I like that. I'm going to go through a little walkthrough on how you can get your bags from Wake Makers. But if you want to do Fat Sack, basically you have to go to a dealer of Fat Sack. Usually it's going to be your boat dealer, but there's different companies out there that are dealers of Fat Sack. And unfortunately, there's not very many places online where you can actually order brand new Fat Sack ballast bags. I've found several Fat Sack options on eBay, but as far as plug and play goes, you want to make sure that it's going to fit specifically. You can always take a plug and play system and you can basically go and get different plumbing fittings and make whatever bags you have work. I actually did that on my 2014 23 LSV. I took some fly high sacks that I had already, and I just hooked them up with extra plumbing fittings. The problem with it was that Malibu plug and play is designed with two 1-inch ports on the bottom to fill and drain, which makes it really quick. And then it has a vent on the top, and it makes it to where it's all connected. It's really quick. When I did the setup on my 2014 23 LSV, and basically just massaged it and made it work with plumbing fittings, it definitely functioned. But my bags were always taking extra time to drain into the stock ballast tank. So it was a deal where I'd drain and it would tell me it was empty, but then I'd get back to the dock and I'd still have my hard tank would be full again, and I'd have to do that about 2 or 3 times. It wasn't that big a deal to me back then, but now that I have it hooked up the right way, you can see the difference, and it's a lot nicer to have it drain and fill quite fast. So with that said, I'll take you into the walkthrough on Wakemakers. So first it's wakemakers.com, and you'll go to the Ballast tab, and then you'll see the Wakemakers Factory Ballast Upgrade. So you'll want to click on that, and then you'll see a bunch of options, but at the top you can choose your year, make, and model, and that's what I suggest, because then it will tell you exactly what you should choose. And then click the Find button, and then it gives you exactly what you need. So the plug and play rear option. So then again, you choose your boat, make and model, and it'll tell you what options it has for you. Not sure why you have to choose it again, but you're going to want to do this. And you can see that there's two different options. There's the 475 or the 580 bags. Not sure why you wouldn't just go with the bigger ones. Not much of a price difference. You can see it gives you several details about it. It gives you some pictures. One of the things to take note of is that if you don't have a 2018, or sorry, if you don't have an MXZ series, the second gen MXZ series, or if you don't have a 2018 23 LSV, some of the other boat models, you're probably going to need that. You're probably going to need the panel saver kit. The purpose of the panel saver is for the engine compartment panels. If you don't brace those, then it can bow those in over time. And the reason why you don't need it on the Gen 2 MXZ series or the 2018 23 LSV, and there might be some other models, those are just the ones I'm really familiar with, is because they're actually built differently. They actually have aluminum bracing already in place, so you wouldn't need those. The other thing you want to keep in mind is that when you go to order from Wakemakers, you might want to call an order, just because if you don't have the auto vent, which I'll show you, Wakemakers does make a venting kit where you'd have to go and split out your existing vent and then hook it up. So if your boat didn't come with that option, or if you didn't put that option on it, then you just need to pay attention to that. All right, so opening up my port side rear compartment, rear locker. You saw me point to the sticker that said front of the bag there. So that's how you know which way to go. That's also where the words are usually on the front of it, where it says fat sack. And you also just saw me take out the manual vent plug, and I just put in the auto vent plug. So another thing, when you're ordering your bags, you want to make sure that they know whether or not you have that. With Wakemakers, but with Fat Sack, they just include it, so you can do it either way. But it just doesn't come with the auto vent kit if you don't have the auto vent on your boat. So now I'm making my way to the rear plug and play hookup for the ballast bag. I just pulled the plug out. I'll show you a little bit more detail on what I did to disconnect that when I do the auto vent. They're all the same, just the front and rear bottom plugs or plug and play ports are where you're going to be filling and draining from, and then the very top of the bag is where you would vent from. So you can see that I am removing, this is different than what I did on my last boat. I had a 2017 23 LSV, and I could just simply hook up the port in the back. In this case, with a 2018 24 MXZ, I'm having to remove this panel here to get good access to the port because it's a little bit hidden under there, which is fine. It's just a little more work. As you can see, I'm finding out that the screws are quite long and taking a long time to remove. And now you can see I'm removing the panel. And now I should have good access to the port. So you can see that red collar there is basically the lock, which I'll show you a little more detail on the vent. So I'm shoving the plug in, or the male end in, as far as I can go, and then I'm pushing the red collar up to lock it. So fairly simple, just somewhat, it's different getting access to each one of the ports, but as far as connecting them, they're pretty simple. So I put that back together. I didn't need you guys to watch all of that and bore you. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect the vent. And so now you're going to be able to see a little bit more close up. So there I am pulling the collar back. I pop the plug off, and I'm going to put the male end of the vent on the bag inside, and you push it all the way in and then push your collar back down. And I usually make sure that it can't pull out. Now I'm going to go around to the front port to try to connect that. And you'll see that I'm looking in the storage compartment under the seat, because on my last boat, I could actually access it right from there. But now they've put basically a panel there where I can't do that. So I just have to reach down kind of underneath, and you can see it right there. And basically do the same thing. It's just a little more tedious, as that's actually a far reach. So not easy for probably a short person or somebody who's got shorter arms. But you can always crawl down inside that inside that locker. I've had to do that with different boat setups in the past. So I'm just turning that male end down towards the female end, and then and you can actually kind of see that the port is pointed to the left, and that's because it's kind of an L shape, and then it goes down in to the hard tank. It's just sitting like that so you can grab it, but once you get it hooked up, you can actually shove it to the right side, and it'll turn to where it's more straight into the bag. So it's an L coming out of the bag, going to the left to the port. And I didn't show you the very end of that, but now I'm moving on to the next bag, and you'll get to see an even clearer view of me hooking up the vent. And it's the same thing for each one. So here I am, and sorry, but I had a little bit of water on the camera there. So there I am putting the vent plug or the vent connection in. And I'm pointing to the front of the bag again, so I flip it around. And I'm gonna grab the vent hose. And then, so you can see I'm pulling that red collar back, and then I can pop that plug out. And then I'm going to push it in on the male end all the way until that kind of flat spot. And then I can just push the collar back up to connect it. And shove the bag back in. Or shove it in, not back in. And that black tank over the next to the side, that's actually the factory tank going up that high. That's how Malibu has set it up to where the stock tanks can actually monitor your plug and play bags now, because your stock tank in the rear will not be full until your bags are full now, and that's how they've done that. It's pretty cool design. I've always kind of wished that my ballast bags, when I'm controlling them from the front, would tell me when they were 50% or 100% or what have you. So I'm pretty excited about that as a new feature for me this year. My 2017 did not have that option. You can see on this side, I'm actually I've got some of the shower controls and hoses in the way, but I can still get to it. Just a little more work, but basically the same connection and a similar setup. I just can't remove that panel entirely unless I wanted to disconnect all the wires and the hoses, but I still have enough access. And the only thing that should be left after this is the front of the bag, which I couldn't film that very well on either side, and that's why I didn't show you it on the last one. But that's pretty much it. All right, I hope that video helped you out. I wanted to tell you a little more about the panel savers. Like I said, if you don't have an MXZ series and the Generation 2 MXZ series, or 2018 23 LSV, or some of the other boat models, you just want to check around the engine compartment. Make sure that the panels on the port and starboard side that you can take off and get access to the engine. Make sure that there's some sort of bracing behind it, metal bracing. If there's not, then you're going to want some sort of panel saver kit from Wake Makers, or what I did on my last boat is I actually made my own. I just went to the hardware store, or Lowe's or Home Depot, and you can get basically angle iron, and it's already got holes in it. As long as you got a cutting tool, you know, whether it's a sawzall or a multi-tool or something that you can cut metal with, even a hacksaw. I mean, it just take a little more time, but a hacksaw works just fine. Then you just take what I did is I took my panel out, and I put it diagonally across the panel. The panel savers are actually, they're set up to be straight, 3 straight lines down the panel. That way when your bag is pushing against it or bulging against that panel, you know, what it does over time is it bulges it in. But if you have the panel savers, it keeps it from doing that. And what I did is I just angled it across with my setup, and it worked pretty good. And I just bolted it in 3 different places, made sure that there's nothing that's going to be sharp and cutting or poking in the bag, and that worked pretty good. And that only cost me, I think, $15 or $20, where, you know, I think Wake Makers is like $35 or something like that. But either way, you'll probably want to do one of those options. Otherwise, over time, you're gonna ruin your panel. So that's all I have for you. I hope that helped. I appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoy my content, please like my video. Please comment. Please leave comments. I'm always interested in feedback. Please subscribe, and please hit the notifications bell. You want to be notified on my next videos coming up. As we get into summer, they're going to get better and better. So again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.